This thing is expansive and there's sparrows everywhere. In the birding world, spring is the season that gets people the most excited. The warblers are in breeding plumage, and the summer weather is on its way. However, fall migration brings its own set of interesting birds, including a wide variety of sparrows. Today, I'm in Madison, trying to find one that happens to be a state rarity. Hey everyone, Ryan from Badgerland Birding here, and today I'm at a community garden in Madison, and I'm looking for one of my favorite sparrows, the Harris's sparrow. Harris's sparrows breed in northern Canada and migrate south to the middle of the U.S. where they winter in Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Kansas among other neighboring states. Each year a few of them can be found as they make their annual migration, stopping for food along with other ground-feeding sparrows. So this community garden, I expected it to be a lot smaller and there to not be a ton of birds. When I got here, this thing is expansive and there's sparrows everywhere. So far I've seen a lot of house sparrows, and so it's going to be much trickier than I thought picking out a Harris's out of this bunch. I began walking the aisles in between the plants, looking at every bird that popped up. Early on, most of them were house sparrows, but I was quickly able to find some other species. The amount of white-throated and white-crowned sparrows here is pretty crazy, and I also found some European starlings and a couple of eastern bluebirds. So far, still no Harris's sparrow, but there's definitely a lot to look through. The white-throated and white-crowned sparrows were two of the most plentiful birds in the gardens. The white-throated sparrow is quite a nice-looking bird, with a brown back, gray underside, white and black striped crown, and yellow lores. They also sport their trademark white throat. In some breeding adults, the colors on the head and face are quite striking, but for others, these colors are much more muted. White-throated sparrows love feeding in areas with thick brush and plenty of cover, as they typically feed along the ground. Seeds make up a large portion of the white-throated sparrow's diet, but they also eat fruits and insects. During winter, they can be found at bird feeders usually picking at seeds that fall to the ground. The white-crowned sparrow is a bit larger than the white-throated sparrow and has a noticeably different shape with a more peaked or crested head. They display similar coloring to the white-throated sparrow as well, with a brown mottled back, gray underside, and black and white striped head. However, the white-crowned sparrow lacks the yellow lores and white throat. It's also worth noting that the white-crowned sparrow has an orange bill, while the white-throated has a tan to brown colored bill. Immature white-crowned sparrows have a rusty and brown stripe on their crown instead of the black and white of the adults, and look more buffy in the face. These sparrows can be found throughout most of the United States in winter, where they frequent areas with dense cover such as thickets and tall grasses. Their diet consists of seeds, grains, fruit, and insects. Since the Harris's sparrow is similar to both of these species in appearance and habit, I made sure to check every sparrow that came out in the open. On numerous occasions, at first glance, I had thought I had found a Harris's, only for it to turn out to be an immature white-crowned. I kept walking back and forth through the gardens, slowly making my way up the hill as I went. During this process, I found cedar waxwings and house finches, along with 3 more sparrow species. In the short grass bordering the gardens, a song sparrow was hopping around. In the taller grass was a fox sparrow. And sitting up for just a few seconds in one of the gardens was a Lincoln sparrow. Near the Lincoln sparrow, another bird hopped into view that caught my attention. Was just able to find one Harris's sparrow, got a brief look at it, and then it disappeared back into the corn that was growing there. So I'm going to see if I can get a better look at it, hopefully, or maybe find another one. In spite of my efforts in searching, it seemed the Harris's sparrow had vanished. I continued my route up the hill until I reached a point where the gardens ended and a field of tall plants occupied the space. Here I found a dark-eyed junco and decided it was time to move back into the area that had the most birds. I've basically done one pass around the community garden now, got that quick look at the Harris's sparrow, and found several other sparrow species, which was nice. I'm going to do another pass and see if we can get anything else out of this garden, but tons of birds out here. It's a beautiful fall day, so it's been really fun walking around. When I returned to the gardens, a lot of the sparrows seemed to be gone, as there was far less action than when I first arrived. However, there was one bird that I found feeding on the path. On my walk back, there was next to no birds except for one that was sitting out and eating, and it happened to be the Harris's sparrow. So I got a lot better looks at it. It was a beautiful bird. I'm really happy that I was able to pick it out amongst all these sparrows. As far as sparrows go, the Harris's sparrow is relatively large and can be identified by its brown back, white underside, and black on its chest and head. Adult birds have darker and more filled-in black coloration, while juveniles have less defined black. Harris's sparrows hold a few interesting titles, including the biggest sparrow in North America, with the exception of towhees, and the only songbird to breed exclusively in Canada. Unlike other sparrows, Harris's sparrows aren't particularly shy and can be seen out in the open perching or feeding. During winter, they migrate south from Canada and reside in the plains states where they can be found at bird feeders and prefer black oil sunflower seeds. Although Harris's sparrows technically only winter in a small part of the continent, they often venture outside of their expected range and have been found in each of the lower 48 states. One thing that's great about birds is that they don't just live in places you'd expect, they live anywhere that they can find food. So some place like this with all of these seeds and all of these different things growing and a lot of cover too is just perfect for all of these birds as they migrate down south. So they're not just where you expect, they're wherever they can find what they need. Birding often feels like a scavenger hunt, and this day was no exception. With hundreds of garden beds to search through, it can feel daunting to locate a specific bird. For this reason, it was rewarding to be able to find my target bird in what felt like a sea of sparrows on a beautiful fall day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Badgerland Birding.